Hello everyone, welcome to Current Affairs for Beginners, a unique initiative by our Law Excellence IAS Academy to help the beginners while reading the Hindu newspaper. Let's start our today's session. First, we'll see answers for the questions from our yesterday's video. The first question is the basic objectives of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is. The answer here is B. It is to stabilize greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere at a level that will prevent dangerous anthropogenic interference with the climate system. The next question is consider the following statements regarding Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. This was established by World Meteorological Organization and the United Nations Environmental Programme. This statement is correct. The next one is it conducts research and monitors climate-related parameters. This statement is incorrect because this Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, it neither monitors nor it does any research that is related to the climate. So the answer here is, as only one is correct, it is A. Now let's see our daily mains questions. The first one is related to the jute industry and the other one is regarding this commercial surrogacy, and regarding the Niti Aayog's recent report, there is another question. Try to answer these questions in our CivilsPrep website where our team will review and give their valuable feedback. Along with the feedback, you will also be provided with model answers along with videos on how to structure each and every answer. You can find the model answers and the videos in our CivilsPrep website and in our Telegram channel also. Now let's start our today's session. These are the topics that we are going to cover in our today's video. Our first article is 9% growth by 2022 must generate jobs. This was given by Niti Aayog in its recent report. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, we are going to see about OECD. What is this OECD? Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It is an international, intergovernmental economic organization of 34 countries. This was formed in 1961 in order to stimulate world trade and world's economic progress. Most of the member countries are high-income countries. That means they are the developed countries with very high human development index. And this organization, it provides a platform for these member countries to compare their policy experiences, and it will help them to get answers to the common problems that were being faced by the member countries so that they can identify these issues and share each other's best practices, and they will coordinate domestic and international policies among the member nations. And the most important thing here is all the members of this organization are committed to two things. One is democracy and the other one is market economy. And it is common for us whenever we see an organization or institution, we used to talk about the significance of that organization. Here, if we see the significance of this OECD is all the member states, they collectively comprise 62.2% of the global GDP. Is India a member of this organization? No. India is not a member of this organization for economic cooperation and development. The same article is continued in the newspaper also. From this article, we are going to see about what is meant by ENAM, APMC, and what is this zero budget natural farming technique, and we will see about this Bharat Net program. And one more thing is we will see what is meant by this viability gap funding. First, we will see about viability gap funding. See, we know that the main problem in India's infrastructure sector is lack of source for finance, that is lack of funds. Along with this, there are some projects which were not financially viable, though they are economically justified and necessary. We'll see what is meant by this viability and what is meant by economically justified. So this is the nature of several infrastructural projects which are long term or which were having long gestation period, and they are of development oriented. So the lack of financial viability, this will arise because of these long gestation periods and inability to increase user charges to commercial levels. Now we'll see, first of all, what is meant by viability. Literally, viability means ability to survive successfully. So whenever a project has initiated, how come it will survive? How it will be finished successfully? It should have sufficient funds, and the project should also give adequate or surplus returns. Here, in case of government projects, they do it for the public welfare instead of looking out for the returns. But here the returns will be in the long run and it will affect the economy. For example, a road is late to a rural market to urban market. Then the rural produce can be sold in the urban market at the good rates, which will help the farmers, and it also in turn leads to increase in the GDP, so that it is helping the economy. So laying the roads for the economy, for improving the economy, is economically justiciable. But in case of public-private project, if this road is laid by a private, here these roads are being used by the public, but they will not pay any fee to this. So the private person, investor who has invested on this road, will not get finances in return. So these kind of projects are not financially viable, though they are economically justified and necessary. So government has launched this instrument known as viability gap funding. It is an economic instrument or a scheme that was launched in 2004 by the Government of India with a motive to support the projects that come under this public-private partnership model. Basically, it is a grant to support the projects that are economically justified but are not financially viable. So here the government will pay those returns to the investor who has invested in these kind of projects, because he will not get sufficient or surplus returns for the investment he has done. And we have used one more term. It will become financially inviable because of the long gestation periods. What is meant by this long gestation period? It is the time difference between your investment and its earning profit for you. You have invested it in this year, but you will receive profits out of this investment maybe after 20 years. Because here, when the user charges cannot be increased to the commercial levels, people who are using this road, we can ask them to pay users pay principle. We can't apply that user pay principle because they are using these roads. So in case where there are toll gates and if they are using these highways and all, they pay that amount. The amount invested will not be returned within a short span of time. It will take a lot of time to get the amount they have invested along with the profit. So in this case, government will use this instrument known as viability gap funding to provide a grant or to support these projects. It is a government's way of promoting this PPP model and distributing its money for building infrastructure in a more efficient manner. Some of the latest examples are Udan, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik regional connectivity scheme, and metro rail projects. All these are being funded through this viability gap funding. The next one is zero budget natural farming. This is also known as do nothing farming. Don't do anything. This involves application of nature's principles in farming. This method, it practices no-till. Land will not be tilled, and there will be no use of chemicals in the farming. But there will be a dispersal of clay seed balls. These balls will propagate plants. To propagate the plants will be done. These clay seed balls will be dispersed. The key aspects of this technique, which require locally available materials, are seeds treated with cow dung and urine, soil rejuvenated with cow dung, cow urine, and other local materials to increase microbes. Another one is cover crops, straw, and other organic matter which will help to retain soil moisture and helps in building humus. And the other one is soil aeration for favorable soil conditions. So all these methods, they combinedly with natural insect management methods when required, will help in this zero budget natural farming. It is a technology of the future with a traditional idea. Some of the expected benefits of this kind of technique is yield of various cash crops and food crops will be higher than usual. And the input cost, here you can see we are not going to spend anything. The input costs are almost zero because no fertilizers and pesticides are being used. In some of the areas this was being experimented, there it was found that profits under this technique are from higher yield and lower inputs. And these farms, they will be able to withstand drought and flooding also. So overall, if we see, this reduces the use of water and electricity, and it improves the health of farm, and it helps in flourish of local ecosystems and biodiversity, as there are no toxic chemical residues in the environment. It improves the soil, biodiversity, livelihood, water, and as these crops are climate resilient, because we said that they can withstand droughts and flooding also. The next one is Bharat Net project. What is this Bharat Net project? This isn't a new project. This is a new name for an already existing project known as National Optical Fiber Network. This program was launched in 2011 with an objective to provide broadband connectivity to all 2.5 lakh gram panchayats. This was renamed as this Bharat Net in 2015. This program has some of the objectives. Important objective is to provide high-speed broadband to all the panchayats in the country by March 2019. So that this will increase the rolling out of fibers under this National Optical Fiber Network program. This target under this BharatNet program is, it includes 1.5 lakh gram panchayats with additional optical fiber across 10 lakh kilometers. Here the telecom players will be given bandwidth at 75% cheaper price to install their fibers. Now, who is going to fund this project? It is the Universal Service Obligation Fund. This program will get funds from this fund, Universal Service Obligation Fund. This fund was mainly established with an objective to improve telecom services in the remote and rural areas of India. So from this fund, this project will be funded. Now let us see some of the facts about this project. This project is being implemented by the Ministry of Communications. So we have said that the objective is to connect all the Indian households, particularly in rural areas, through a high-speed broadband by 2019. So that it is going to form a backbone for the government's ambitious Digital India program. And this BharatNet is Union government's ambitious rural internet connectivity program that will be implemented by Bharat Broadband Network Limited. Earlier, this national optic fiber network, this has got failed due to slow implementation. Now it is rebranded as BharatNet program. At present, a special purpose vehicle known as this Bharat Broadband Network Limited under the Telecom Ministry is handling this rollout of optical fiber network, which will provide this broadband in all the rural areas. And this project is being executed by 3 BSNL, Railtel and Power Grid. It is the world's largest rural broadband connectivity program using optical fiber. And we have already seen this project is being funded by Universal Service Obligation Fund. The next one is eNAM, Electronic National Agriculture Marketing Platform. It is one of the major and important flagship schemes implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare with an objective to provide competitive and remunerative prices to the farmers for their produce through online, competitive and transparent bidding process. Competitive and remunerative, getting a good or fair income for the produce they have produced. This eNAM is a pan-India, that means all over India, e-trading platform, which is designed to create unified, that is a single national market for trading agricultural commodities that were produced by the farmers. And it is launched to provide competitive and remunerative price to the farmers for their produce through online competitive and transparent bidding process. What are the benefits of this is, this will integrate central farmer database to increase efficiency, and it will also reduce the queue time. Using this platform, farmers, they can showcase their produce. They can show their produce online from their nearest market, and traders, they will quote a price from anywhere in India. From anywhere, because we said it is a unified platform all over in India. So using online, our farmers, they can show their produce, the quality and all this. And anybody who are interested to purchase, they will raise a price. And if the farmer feels it is a fair price, then he will sell this produce to the person whoever is seeking to buy it. So that it will increase number of traders. If the quality is more, so many wants to buy this, then the farmer will get, there will be huge competition. Because of that, the farmer will get a remunerative, a good and fair price for his produce. So we can say it is going to increase number of traders, and which leads to greater competition, so that the farmer will get a fair returns for his investment. And one more thing is, it is also ensuring the price discovery, because this is a transparent bidding process. As there is a transparency, there will be better returns to the farmer. So we can say that this will resolve the friction between inefficient markets for the agricultural output and efficient markets for their inputs. And in this, the farmers, they must buy and sell only in the government designated Agricultural Produce Market Committee, market yards, APMC. This committee got its powers from a statutory act which is known as Agricultural Produce Market Committee Act of 2003. This is a statutory body which is constituted by the state governments in order to trade in agricultural or horticultural or livestock products. The main functions of this body is to promote public-private partnerships in the agricultural markets and to provide market-led services to the farmer, and to keep an eye on the pricing system and the transactions that were taking place in the market in a transparent manner. And they should also ensure that payments to the farmers for the sale of agricultural produce is done on the same day. This body is responsible for promoting the agricultural activities and to announce data on arrival and rates of agricultural produce from time to time, change in the prices, because today the rate of the produce might be high, but tomorrow due to increase in supply or decrease in the demand, the prices might go down. So it is this body which is responsible to update the farmers with the change in prices from time to time in the market. The next article is Bill banning commercial surrogacy got passed in Lok Sabha. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of social justice. So from this article now we are going to see what is meant by surrogacy first. Surrogacy means it is the practice by which a woman who is known as surrogate mother, she will become pregnant and give birth to a baby in order to give that baby to someone who cannot have their own children. So in this, again there are types. One is commercial surrogacy. Commercial surrogacy means this is an agreement between here the surrogate mother and the parents who are planning to hire a surrogate mother to have a child. So that this agreement includes a predetermined, before itself they will fix a monetary compensation they'll pay to the surrogate mother along with the medical expenses during her pregnancy. But this new bill will not allow anyone to become a surrogate mother in return for money. So according to this bill, couples who are married for more than 5 years and if they are not above the age of 50 in case of female and 55 in case of men, they can opt for surrogacy. Not everybody. And this surrogacy is not allowed if the couple already has a child, and a surrogate mother can only be a person who is a close relative to the couple, but she shouldn't be some stranger. This bill has included these kind of provisions because surrogacy in India has two sides to it. While thousands of couples, including the same-sex couples, both from India and abroad, they found immense happiness through surrogacy. And this industry, now it stands at a value of 400 million rupees. But this has come into picture because of its exploitative nature. Here, the surrogate mother, in most of the cases, she will get into this process with a prefixed, before there will be predetermined monetary value because of her financial needs, and she will end up with very less amount in return. So without any proper rules and laws in place, this surrogacy industry has grown in a huge manner, which led to exploitation of the surrogate mothers. And this bill is providing for altruistic surrogacy. What is meant by this altruistic surrogacy? Here the bill is suggesting to go for altruistic surrogacy and it is banning this commercial surrogacy. Altruistic surrogacy refers to those surrogacy agreements where the surrogate mother will not receive any monetary compensation, no return of money. In most altruistic surrogacy agreements, the surrogate mother will be a close relative to the intended parents, whoever seeking for the child, and that close relative can be a family member or a close friend. So entering into this altruistic surrogacy with a known surrogate is a better thing, is what the bill says. Because when the surrogate in an altruistic agreement is a close relations, complications will not arise. But there are some criticisms to this also. Because some people say that by considering the social norms and mindsets in India, which is not similar to that of in the West, surrogacy within a family is impossible. Though sometimes within the extended families, biological parents, they will give their third or fourth child for adoption to a relative. But surrogacy within the family is not much appreciated in our India. And here you can ask whether NRIs or foreigners, were they eligible for this? No. This bill allows only the Indian citizens to avail this surrogacy. Foreigners, NRIs and persons of Indian origin, they are banned from seeking surrogate mothers from India. And homosexuals, single parents, for example a single mother or single father, or living couples who are in living relation, they were also not allowed to have children through this surrogacy in India. Couples who already have children were also not allowed to go for surrogacy, but they were free, they were allowed to adopt children under a separate law but not under this law. The next article is change in Mizoram. So from this article we are going to see about two things. One is Act East policy and the other is BIMSTEC connectivity schemes. These two come under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations. First of all, let us see about this Act East. Before knowing about Act East policy, we should know about Look East policy. This Look East policy is aimed to cultivate economic and strategic relations with the Southeast Asian nations in order to secure India's position as a regional power. This Look East policy can be implemented by using the border of northeastern states of India, which has a connectivity to Southeast Asian nations. This policy was developed by P.V. Narasimha Rao government. Then Act East policy. This was adopted in 2014. The aim of this is to effectively implement this Look East policy by developing better relations with Southeast Asian nations through bilateral talks, trade and economic ties with those countries by India. The next one is BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC. It is a sub-regional group of 7 countries in South Asia and Southeast Asia. These are the countries that were lying to the adjacent areas of Bay of Bengal. This was established in 1997 through a declaration known as Bangkok Declaration. The headquarters of this organization is in Dhaka of Bangladesh. Now we'll see who are all the member countries. India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. These are the countries from South Asia. And Myanmar, Thailand from Southeast Asia. The significance of this organization is all the 7 members, they together comprise 1.5 billion people, and they constitute around 22% of global population. This organization was established with an objective of technological and economic cooperation among the South Asian and Southeast Asian countries that were lying along the coast of Bay of Bengal. This is a sector-driven cooperative organization. I have said it is a sector-driven cooperative organization because here these countries, they cooperate mainly in 6 sectors. Those 6 sectors are trade, technology, energy, transport, tourism and fisheries. Initially, it was designed to cooperate in these 6 sectors, but in 2008, it has expanded the scope of its cooperation to 8 more sectors, and they include agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation, counter-terrorism, environment, culture, people-to-people contact, and also climate change. The next article is A River Running Dry. This article comes under GS Paper 1 under the topic of Geography. From this article, we are going to see about hydropower. What is this hydropower? It is energy from water sources such as ocean, rivers and waterfalls. Because the source of hydropower is water, hydroelectric power plants which will produce this hydropower must be located on a water source. So the electricity that is produced by directing or channeling the moving water to power electric generators. The flow or fall of moving water will determine the amount of energy that is available. So we can say that like other forms of electricity generation, here this hydropower will use a turbine to generate electricity using the energy of falling water or flowing water to turn the blades of the turbine. The rotating blades will spin a generator that will convert the mechanical energy of turbine into electrical energy. The amount of electricity generated from each power plant depends on the quantity of flowing water and the height from which it falls. And we call hydropower as a renewable source of energy because this uses and not consumes the water for generation of electricity. It will only use the water. It is not consuming the water for generating electricity. And the hydropower will leave this vital resource available for other uses also. Now if we come to India, the hydropower project is classified into 2 segments. One is small hydropower and the other one is large hydro. In India, the hydro projects up to 25 megawatt capacity stations, they were categorized as small hydropower projects, and these are under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, whereas the Ministry of Power is responsible for large hydro projects. Here in our notes, I have given a detailed classification how again this small hydro is divided into 3 types. One is micro, mini and small, and I have also given there based on the capacities how they have classified and some other specifications like which is the oldest hydropower plant in India, what is the estimated total hydropower potential of India. All these different types of details I have clearly given in our notes. Please go through that. The next article is Befriend Thy Neighbor. This article comes under GS Paper 2 under the topic of International Relations and India's relation with its neighbors. From this article, we are going to see about a term. Here it is PPP, Purchasing Power Parity. What is meant by this purchasing power parity? It is the number of units of a country's currency that is required to buy same amount of goods and services in the domestic market within the country as $1 of US can buy in US. There is a basket of goods which can be purchased using $1 in US. Then how much of India's currency is required to buy the same amount of goods in India, not in US? This is known as purchasing power parity. This technique will help us to estimate what exchange between two currencies is needed to express the purchasing power of two countries within their country. Let us understand this with an example. Let's imagine that market exchange rate between dollar and rupee is 60. That means $1 is equal to 60 rupees in India. So if we say that $1 in US can buy 1 liter of milk in US. In the same way, in terms of rupee, 60 rupees can buy 3 liters of milk in India. So in India, 1 liter is 20 rupees only. But using this $1 in India, we can buy 3 liters. Whereas in US, we can buy only 1 liter of milk. Now we all know what is meant by GDP, gross domestic product. It is the total value of goods and services that are produced within India. For example, let us say that India's GDP is 600 rupees. That means, and milk is the only commodity that was being produced by entire India. Then, if we think that India is producing 10 liters of milk, and these 10 liters of milk can be purchased in US using $10, which if we convert into Indian rupees, 10 into $1 is equal to 60 rupees, which is equal to 600 rupees, which is the total value of goods that were produced within India, which is our GDP, if we go according to this. So now here we got that 600 rupees is our GDP. But if we see in India, 1 liter is 20 rupees only. Then that means in India we are producing 30 liters of milk. But this higher volume of production in India is not expressed if we use the market exchange rate to measure our GDP. So to overcome this defect and to measure our GDP without any errors in an accurate manner, we can use this purchase power parity exchange rate. So under this PPP, we will measure the GDP of India by measuring how much milk that 60 rupees can purchase in India and how much milk $1 can purchase in US. So here $1 in US can purchase 1 liter of milk, whereas rupees 20 can purchase 1 liter of milk in India. So this is the purchasing power parity exchange rate we have obtained. Using this exchange rate, we can calculate India's GDP of 600 rupees will become $30, not $10, according to market exchange rate, through which we will get inaccurate GDP. But using PPP, we can measure our GDP in an accurate manner. The next article is Government to seek interim dividend from RBI. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, we are going to see about a term known as economic capital framework of RBI. We have already seen what is meant by this economic capital framework so many times, but let me tell you it in brief again. Before knowing about economic capital framework, first we should know about capital reserves. Capital reserves are the reserves that will enable RBI to meet any financial emergency situations that arise out of liquidity crisis or some other issues. So these are the funds that were available with RBI to meet any unexpected or financial emergency situations. These funds will help the RBI to meet those emergency situations by its own, using the funds that it has reserved. So we can say that these are the funds, ready funds available with RBI to manage its own business. So what does this economic capital framework do? So who will decide that how much amount of capital reserves that an RBI can hold? It is this economic capital framework which will give a number. This is the amount of capital reserves that can be held by the Reserve Bank of India. This is the function of our economic capital framework. The next article is Jammu and Kashmir Education Department has withdrawn the ban on Firan. This article comes under GS paper 1 under the topic of culture. So from this article we can see here about Firan. What is this Firan? It is a Kashmiri dress, which is a kind of coat, which is a traditional attire of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is worn by everyone irrespective of gender. Both male and female will wear it, and it is usually made of wool and it is worn during winter. This attire was considered as an integral part of their culture by the Kashmiris, and from where and when this attire has come into India is it dates back to 15th century, and it was introduced to India through the Middle Eastern countries, and it was worn in bright colors initially, but now it is available in all the colors, and these were used especially because these firans keep people warm on chilly Kashmiri winters. And the next article is ISRO's Angry Bird takes to the skies. Here it is all about our GSAT-7A, which is a communication satellite meant exclusively for the Indian Air Force, and it is launched by a satellite launch vehicle GSLV F-11. Please do refer back to our video on 17th December where I have given a detailed technical details of GSAT-7A. Now let's see our today's questions. First one is, in which among the following India is not a member? The next question is, with regard to hydropower in India, consider the following statements. Try to answer these questions, and in our tomorrow's video we'll see a detailed explanation for these questions. And this is our Law Excellence website where you can access the notes for this video, and this is our official Telegram channel where you can the notes, video along with other Law Excellence materials. Thank you.